Danny Gilfillan for Boxing News. Delighted to have with me trainer Dave Coldwell. Dave, appreciate you hopping on. Friday, no boxing, certainly in the UK on the horizon this weekend. What does Dave Coldwell do to occupy himself on a weekend with no boxing? Because I know I struggle.
Well, it's usually football. I've been playing a lot of football lately. But this weekend I'm actually not. I'm not playing. But my little boy is, so at least there's still a football fix on Sunday. I'll just train. I'll just train Saturday and then go and watch him play Sunday. I can't wait for the football season to start. I can't wait for this summer months to have gone and then the boxing calendar sort of pick up. So then weekends are full. We don't do any punching in the boxing gym on a Saturday or Sunday. Saturday they'll do their run, and then Sunday they'll have completely off. So I'm kind of like itching for something else to do.
Yeah, I saw you share a clip on Twitter the other day. You on the pitch. Still got a bit.
Not bad, not bad, am I? I'm playing. Listen, I'm playing 90 minutes like every week. This will be my first weekend off for a while. I've been playing with celebrity soccer for since May, so we'll get to play all good. Played at Emirates, played at Overfall. My dog's trying to get into this office, so that's a noise that you might be able to hear. He's a big dog. He climbs up the door. Um, yeah, I love my football, so I'm fortunate to play a part in raising money for charities, and yeah, a lot. We do a lot of kids charities and a lot of kids cancer charities. So yeah, so it's nice to play a part of that, and it's a little bit of a break from the boxing life. So I'm enjoying it.
Dave, let's talk about a boxing. Obviously, you're coming straight from the gym where Stephen Cairns, I'm sure, was there, back out in a few weeks' time on the Jack Rafferty, Mark Chamberlain show in Manchester. Stephen really hitting the stripes as a pro. Three stoppages on the bounce. First man to stop Jamie Stewart. Forget he's only 23 as well. Feels like he's been out for a while, but you must be really happy with how he's progressing and the activity you're getting with him.
You know what? He's a literally the perfect sort of kid that you want to work with in the gym. He's so disciplined, so dedicated. He generally does live a life, and I've been working since he was 18. I've watched the kid grow up, and he's turned into a fantastic human being, but a hell of a prospect as well. The rounds that he's, over the last 18 months, especially the rounds that he's been getting, people like Dalton Smith regularly, Maxie Hughes, he's fought Gary Cully, everybody, he's been getting some really good experience, Mark Chamberlain. So it's just soaking up that experience, even Puello out in Vegas when we was out there last year. So he's one of these that he wants to learn and he wants to test himself all the time. And with George and Frank Warren, they're allowing me to develop him at my pace, not rush him, but keep giving him, little tests. And he's performing every time he goes out there, and he's just getting more and more comfortable in his own skin, more and more comfortable under the lights. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how his career pans out and progresses. We're on the Rafferty Chamberlain bill on the 23rd. It'll be an 8 rounder, and then we're looking to push on to titles, not major titles, but Commonwealth, that sort of continent, international titles, good learning titles, get good 10 rounders under his belt, and then we move him on. He's only just 23 as of last month, so he's a young kid, very very strong, big for the weight. He's just developing all the time, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, fantastic. Hopey Price, a man who unfortunately has not been blessed with that activity through, of course, no fault of his own, had a torrid time with injuries. But I saw
Yeah.
in his story as well, he's been down at the gym. In an ideal world, when are you going to get Hopey back in the ring? Because it came at a really bad time. Not that there's a good time for the injury, but yeah, I'm guessing, sooner the better. He must be chomping at the bit.
Mate, it's the most frustrating thing I would say that's happened in my career as a coach. A super super talented kid has a horrific injury, and it's just a chain of events after that. No fault of his own. He's in the gym, he's trying, but it started off where it was obviously he had the snap in the ligaments in his hand. They had to and the bone. They had to take the hip bone, fuse it to the hand, which is a bad enough operation as it is, but then that caused an effect in his hip, where his hip was just locked up, stiffened up. The chain down, it did something disrupted with his ankle and his movement in there. Then he had an accident with the ankle, and he's just not been able to put any weight on that foot, and I think it's a case of retraining the ligaments and the tendons to be able to move in that. I think it was something like a 6th percentile of movement he got in his left foot, which is obviously no good. He literally every time he puts his weight on there, whether it can be pad work, or just moving around. If his weight go on it on a wrong way, it looks like he's drunk, or it looks like he's been hit with a big shot, and he's that slow motion wobble trying to regain his balance. So he's having treatment on it, and we're trying to get that fixed, so to speak. But I can't even look at a date until he gets his balance back. There's nothing that I can say going forward in terms of boxing wise. And he's in the gym, he's trying his best, he's doing everything he can do. But until that left foot gets back working properly, then there's nothing more to say really.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed he does get those issues sorted as soon as possible because, as you say, super talented lad and was flying before the injury. Dave, want to get your thoughts on, I think it's in a fortnight tomorrow, Moses Itauma, Dillian Whyte. So Dillian's been doing the rounds, looks in fairly good shape. That seems to be the consensus. What's your read on this fight? I feel like the majority of people are saying it's maybe a shrewd bit of matchmaking, getting the name of Dillian Whyte at the right time, but Dillian's not without his backers. Is Moses Itauma sort of running before he can walk, so to speak? What side of the fence do you sit on?
I think it's perfect matchmaking, perfect timing. It's unfortunately it's throughout boxing history. You have your favourites and you have your fan friendly fighters that everybody loves. They get to a point in the career where they end up being that name for the next generation, and I just believe that's what we've got here with this fight. Dillian's inactivity is going to go against him, wear and tear, and just the stage of the career that he's at. If Moses Itauma wasn't the sharpshooter, the twitchy, great feints, and then explosive power puncher that he was a bit more of a one-pace, methodical sort of heavyweight prospect, then you'd say, yeah, this is even though Dillian's been inactive, he can kind of like box his way through a few of the early rounds, and then get, as the timing comes back and can make it into a good fight. But Moses has everything that you wouldn't want if you're a inactive fighter, if you're an older fighter, if you're slowing down in any sort of way. He's the absolute opposite. The triggers and the sharpness, and then the speed of foot and hands. He's for me, it's all wrong for Dillian Whyte for this fight. So yeah, I think it's perfect matchmaking for Moses. And once again, Frank Warren, he's all go through them all. He's always known when to get that name, that marquee name for a young prospect, to just the right timing. So yeah.
Are you surprised that Dillian's taken this fight? Because he was being linked with the likes of Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker, big rematches there. And you would imagine a fight with Moses Itauma is more likely to still be there than sort of the opposite. If you fight Moses Itauma and lose, those fights aren't going to be there. You've managed fighters. Is it surprising Dillian's taken it?
I was surprised when he came out, because it kind of came out of the blue, didn't it? So I was surprised. But if those fights don't look like anything, if anything's not moving in terms of negotiation, Dillian just wants to fight. He just wants to get back out there and fight and be active. And I think Dillian's one of those guys that if you offer him a fight, he's not going to say no. So when he's had the call, or his management's had the call, and when he's been told about it, if the money's right, I'll take it. And I imagine they're paying him a lot of money. and he'll see it as a challenge. Listen, it doesn't matter what I'm saying about the timing and how I feel as though he's a big underdog going into the fight. It doesn't matter what I'm saying or anybody else is saying. Dillian Whyte 100% believe that he's going there to teach his kid a lesson. It's too early for him. He's a fighter. He's a real fighting man, and he'll go in against anybody, and we've seen that. So he won't be looking at this and go, oh, yeah, I'm going to give it a go. He'll be going there fully expecting to knock Moses Itauma out.
Yeah. If, as the bookmakers seem to think, and the majority of people analysing the fight seem to think, Moses Itauma comes out on top, where would you like to see him go next? Turki Al-Sheikh seems to be very keen on Moses Itauma versus Alexander Usyk. They've stated that get some company there. They've stated that they're not going to enter the purse bids for. Are we all good?
Yeah, we're all good. It's just my life and my dog, that's it.
That Salah and Riyadh season aren't gonna. They've got no interest in making Alexander Usyk versus Joseph Parker. Is Moses Itauma Alexander Usyk? Do you think that's realistic? I mean, the reason I ask is because anytime Turkey seem to want to fight, it seemed to happen. But that seems like a jump.
I know, but it is a big jump. It is a big. Listen, I know Usyk's getting old. I know Usyk's not. Probably, it's not an ideal fight for Usyk in terms of probably getting himself up for it, and he's very, very professional and everything. But there's no upside for Usyk in that fight. So if you're Team Usyk, it's like, why? Yeah, I understand the money is money's incredible, but you get to a stage in your career, don't you, when you've been getting these kind of fights on Riyadh season shows, on ring shows that Usyk's had, that really you can afford to say, even though there's a big pile of money, you can afford to say, no, I'm not really bothered about that one. You can turn it down. I don't see no upside for it, because if he beats him, so what is, he should do in terms of stage of careers. But if he gets beat, then it's like horrendous, So I don't think that fight happens. Not because it's not been called for, made, attempted to be made, but I just can't see Usyk taking that fight. In terms of where next for Itauma if he beats Dillian Whyte, I would, there's a couple of domestic fights still that I would like him to be in the mix with. If you look at, I would like Joseph Parker to fight for a world title. But I know they spoke about Bakoli and Moses Itauma. That's a hell of a fight. That's a real good step up. If he beats Dillian Whyte, why not? So that sort of level, not rushing him straight into the top yet, but there or thereabouts,
Yeah, well, interesting times and exciting times, but of course, no foregone conclusion. He gets through Dillian Whyte.
No.
Just sticking with the heavyweights, Dave. Might be announced by the time this goes out, actually, but it's sort of been the worst kept secret in boxing that Dave Allen is going to fight Arslanbek Makhmudov in Sheffield this October. It's a fight that seems to have taken everyone completely by surprise. It's certainly not a matchup you would have envisaged happening 18 months ago. What's your read on it? I mean, a lot of people saying Makhmudov, heavy-handed, strong, but flawed. Saw him stop twice in his last few fights, but
yeah,
big jump from Johnny Fisher.
Yeah, it is a jump from Johnny Fisher, definitely. But he is a guy that's shown that he can be got to, and he can be hurt, and he can be knocked out, and he can, it can fall apart. So Dave Allen, this is the kind of fight that that Dave's going to be really up for, and obviously he's going to train for, but mentally he's going to be in there to win it and really push yourself on in this fight. It's a fight that I think that he wins. I know it's a big jump up, but I don't think Makhmudov's he's good at giving it out, but I don't think he's that good at taking it back. So it's a very good fight, but it's a fight that we'll probably say it could come down to just that toughness and that grit and that sheer desire. And I would lean towards Dave Allen on that one.
Yeah, speaking to people in boxing, a lot of people seem to think if Dave can navigate the first 3-4 rounds where, Makhmudov's at his best and he's got the majority of his stoppages, it's his fight. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, very much so. And I think in those early rounds, I think Dave detonates some good body punching in there, then that'll be a big key to success. Yeah, I just feel as though it is a tough fight. It's a real fight, and it's hard to gauge because the level that Dave's had his successes at. But then also you can, like I said, he's not talking to look at. Is an absolute monster. But when you get past the physicalities, then is he really as Makhmudov? Is he really as scary as what he looks on the outside? I don't think so, and I really do think that Dave Allen will fancy this fight, and I think he'll pull off a really good win.
Well, it's a fight that I think, regardless of what way it goes, you'd imagine it'll be very entertaining.
Yeah.
Dave, I hate to go from talking about, two really interesting heavyweight fights to one of the sort of negative sides of the sport, but I've got to get your thoughts on this WBC ruling on Francisco Rodriguez
Oh
Jr.
man.
Yeah, an immediate rematch ordered. They've accepted that it was a supplement that he had reported, and they've ordered him to fight Galal Yafai again, placed on 12 months probation, I believe, where he's subject to random testing, but doesn't seem like there'll be any ban. And there's the emergence that he failed a drug test in his fight prior.
He's failed. So basically, he's failed 2 drug tests in a row. Is that I'm right in saying that, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
that's his last fight that got changed to a no contest
that's
before.
right. Yeah.
So he's failed two drug tests in a row, and you are saying you're going to give him 12-month probation. What kind of shit is that? Do you know what? It's the WBC, man. That's the one. That's the belt. That's the standard for years in boxing for throughout history. If you speak to majority of fighters, which belt would you want to win? They would always say the green and gold. They would always say the WBC. Listen, when we had, when Tony fought for the WBC world title, when we were preparing for that, it was that green and gold belt, man. We were so excited, and it meant so much to fight for that belt. But I just feel over the last few years, just chipping away at its credibility, and especially on the whole. This is an organisation that has a clean boxing program. What is the point? Is if when there's a bit of muck around, you're just gonna get out your Mr. Sheen and clean it back up and pretend it never had muck on it in the first place. It's just this is bullshit. He's failed 2 drug tests on the trot. No contest, and now you're giving him a 12-month probation period. It's bullshit, and giving him a shot straight back. It just seems as though that fighters are failing tests, and you're doing it that often, where it's like there's an excuse for this, there's an excuse for that, this is an excuse, that's an excuse. It's happening that often, where when fighters fail tests now, there is no shock value. Firstly, in terms of somebody's failed a test, it's like, fucking hell, you knew that was going to happen. But also, there's no sort of like, right, it's fucked now.
Yeah.
Right, what's what? Now it's kind of like, what? How's he going to get out of this one? What's the excuse? The first thing you think is, what's the excuse they're going to bring out for this one? It's really bad, and the sport really needs cleaning up on that side of things, because it's not a good look. It's only a matter of time before somebody gets injured or even worse due to somebody else cheating. And it's not a subject that should be just swept under the carpet. It shouldn't be just swept under the carpet. It's too serious a subject, you know. Yeah, and it depends on who the fighter is, really. If you're in favour with the WBC or whoever it might be, if you're in favour, then you tend to get away with cheating.
What do you think can be done, Dave? I know a lot of fans are getting very disillusioned about it, basically for the reasons you outlined, because it happens so frequently and there's never any sense of jeopardy of potentially a proper punishment. I know the British Boxing Board of Control do what they can, but they're only sort of affiliated with UCAD, so when these VADA tests pop up, they don't have
No,
as
so
much say.
just while you mentioned that, why can't they be affiliated with VADA and UCAD, whoever it might? I don't get this. Why if somebody's failed a drugs test for something that's on a banned substance, why does it matter that you fell with them, but it weren't one of our tests? The fuck is that about? This is about people's lives. This is about people pick up. Listen, Kyle Fire might gets another shot at world title, his interim title, world title, whatever it is. Great, fantastic. But the punishment he took in that fight has a lasting effect, possibly mentally as well as physically. It's done. So what does it matter that if it's you can't let somebody off just because it wasn't on their or wasn't on their watch. If it's come up, it's come up. If it's failed, it's a fail. Do you know what? If you're not gonna clamp down on punishments in terms of bans and stuff like that, do you know what? We were talking about this in the gym. What would work is if you fail a drugs test, you don't get paid. If you fail your drugs test, if you've been paid, you've gone off already, obviously because these drug tests come out a week, 2 weeks after, or whatever after, you have to pay the money back. I'll tell you what, that's your deterrent right there. Because these guys are failing drugs tests and they're going through the risk thinking, yeah, but if I get a ban, I'll probably get a 12-month ban, come out with this shit, blah, blah. Nutritionist will be or whoever it is that's giving them the shit, will be giving them, oh, well, you can say this will mask it for that, or you can use this as an excuse because that's found in that food or this. Right, okay. Might get a 12-month ban. Some fighters have had even less. It's like breaking your hand. We've just spoke about it. Hopey Price, how long's he been out injured? Right? So it's just like having an injury coming back. When you've been paid your few mil or lower down scale, a few $100,000, still a lot of money, life-changing money. When you've been paid that sort of dough, right? You're like, all right, take a year out, I'm all right. If all of a sudden you're not paying that, you're not getting paid that, and you're having to give it back, whoa, that's the difference. That's the difference right there. And I tell you what, I'm not saying all, but it would cut down the amount of people that are willing to cheat a lot because of the fact that they could be going through all that, the costs of camp. We always talk about how expensive it is. When a fight gets fallen through and stuff like that, it's I've paid for this, paid for that, blah blah. Not been earning what, and then you're not earning at the end of it. Only has to happen that a couple of times, and I bet you a lot of fighters will stop doing it. We need more frequent testing. Get them caught, and then don't pay them. Because if you're not going to do the ban, we can all say we want a ban for life and it's just not happening. It's not happening. In fact, the bans are getting less and less and less. In my ideal world, you have categorized PEDs, drugs, stuff where it's like to make weight, cutting out water, stuff like that they're taking. Mine's gone blank. Well, what do you call them? Diuretics, things like that. That's a category, whatever. Then your next category, then your injectables, boom, injectables, life. There's no excuse for getting done for an injectable. What is your fucking excuse? You fell on a needle? No, don't happen. Oh, I thought I was getting a TB jab. It's stuck in your arse. No. If it's an injectable, there is no excuse for that. So ban them for life. It's an injectable. Everything else, categorized, diuretic shit, whatever, 2-year ban. You got to be more on it. It is what it is. Next one up, you categorize them. Next one up, 4-year ban. That's it. And then your life ban for your injectables. I think that in an ideal world, but it's not happening. I've been saying it for ages. It's not happening. So take the money off them. Don't pay them. Take the money off them. And then they ain't gonna be. They're not gonna want to go through that for free. That's probably the way to do it, maybe.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. Yeah, just how desensitized we're all seeming to become to this.
Yeah.
It feels like something needs to be done for sure.
That's scary, mate. That's scary.
Yeah. Just last thing, I want to get your thoughts on, Dave, and I'll let you go. We're hearing talk of Anthony Joshua, Tony Yoka. I believe it was Spencer Oliver got the scoop. I was speaking on TalkSport, and sort of rumblings around boxing is that it could be a goer. Crossroads fight, loser leaves town fight. What's your read on it?
Yeah, he's another one, isn't he, Yoka?
Yeah, that's right, actually. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I hope AJ, if it happens, I hope AJ smashes him. Um, but yeah, it's a crossroads fight for sure. Yoka's never took off. I remember when he turned pro, there was a lot of fuss about him, and he was supposed to be he was going to be one of the top ones. But yeah, he's never took off. He's got to be knocking on a little bit now, surely. Career not really gone anywhere. So the stage that I think the stage that Joshua's at, I think another bad loss, then it probably would, because I think I've heard rumours that he's maybe looking at the last 18 months of his career or last 2 years of his career, whatever. Maybe that gets brought forward on another loss. Maybe he thinks, what, I've had a great career, that's enough. But yeah, I would imagine if that's the fight that happens, yeah, I would hope that AJ comes through that and then gets his big, big, big fight if it happens.
Well, is that big fight Tyson Fury or Jake Paul?
Yeah, if yeah. Um no, Tyson Fury. I would like to see that happen before they both retire. I know they both, got lost on the record. They're both not where they once was, but I would still like to see it happen at this stage rather than never happen at all. So yeah, so that's the big fight I'm talking about, not the Jake Paul fight. The Jake Paul fight I can actually see happening because of the world we're living in. If AJ's, he's fought a guy that's won one fight in Ngannou, and if Fury, who was champ at the time, fought a guy that had never had a professional boxing fight in Ngannou, then Jake Paul, with the numbers that he does, he's had a few fights, some more on the exhibition side than fights. Um, and with the numbers that he does, the money that he generates, yeah, I can see that fight happening. And the problem is if it happens, that's where the reality check sets in, because yeah, Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul isn't going to end very well for Jake Paul,
Would it
apart
be
from his
bad?
bank balance.
Sorry, would it be bad for boxing if AJ was to fight Jake Paul? Do you think?
Um, is it bad for boxing that Jake Paul beats guys that aren't really boxers and claims to be great? Is it bad for boxing that Jake Paul fights 56, 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and his fan base think that he's beating one of the greatest fighters of all time? That's bad for boxing.
Yeah.
So would it be bad for boxing if AJ was to absolutely wipe out Jake Paul? Possibly not.
Fair enough. Well, Dave, we've got a lot covered there. Really appreciate your time. Yeah, have a good weekend, mate. As I say, no boxing, but we'll find a way to keep ourselves occupied. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.